Hey, folks, it is noon Eastern Standard Time, which means it's lunch with Mal. Of course, it's not lunch for everybody, including me, but we we sally forth with the name nonetheless. I mean, you can't change it at this point, right? And as I've discussed before, I don't get to eat lunch during lunch with Mel, but you can, or you can have brunch with Mel. That totally works as well. Um, I'm sure that's very fascinating. It's funny, I never know what to talk about to kill time at the beginning while I wait for Facebook and YouTube to get the word out to everybody that the stream is running. But I should at least be a little more cogent than perhaps I am sometimes. Um, so yeah, it's like January 2026. I'm sure you've all noticed that, and to varying degrees of excitement and or dismay. Um, and while there's a lot to be worried and concerned about, there are some good things going on that I rather like. And I think for a lot of us, it's also difficult to want to pimp and push our business and be excited about things in our business when there's other things going on that are absolutely terrible. But at the same time, part of making it so things aren't too terrible is making sure that we keep doing our business and feeding our families and all that jazz. So I am sallying forth in being proactive about 2026 from a business perspective, from my writing perspective. And I'm also reminding myself too that like my books look very appealing to a demographic that is probably not used to reading my type of book. And I know for a fact that people have kind of had their eyes opened a bit just by how I portray characters and events and worldviews and thoughts in my books. And I'd like to think that you know putting my books in the hands of more and more people is actually a part of the greater good. So I'm heading forth with that. So a couple of cool things have happened recently. Um, and actually a lot of cool things have happened recently, but I'm gonna dial it down to just ones about books. But the coolest stuff is solar panels and batteries, but that's a whole different story. Yes, CES in Las Vegas just happened, and I've been following the news about all the cool new things that are going on. Yes, Book Report is a tool, and in my humble opinion, it is one of the best tools for looking at your sales data. It gives you like a one-page view for analyzing your sales data, and it is super cool. I'm going to show some screenshots of that in a little bit. It's been the sales analysis tool I've used the most for the last 10 years. It's pretty fabulous, and it's super easy to use and runs like a dream. It just released a new read through analysis feature that I rather like. I like the way they put it together. But some other things that have gone on that's kind of neat is Amazon has changed their terms of service for KU books, allowing us to list our books in online libraries, our ebooks. They are currently specific about the distributors that you can use and stuff like that, but Draft to Digital and I think Publish Drive, yeah, Publish Drive are both on the list. So if you've been like lamenting the fact that your ebook can't be in libraries because it's in KU, you can actually now do that. So you can sign up for an account with Publish Drive or Draft to Digital and get your books distributed that way. One thing of note between these two companies, Publish Drive charges you per month per book that you have up with them, and Draft Digital doesn't charge you for putting books up. They take a 10% cut of, I think it's 10%. I haven't checked in a while, so double check for yourself. But they take a percentage cut of the royalties that you're getting, so you can consider that based on what you're doing. And it's like I kind of feel like if you're starting out, Draft to Digital is really good, but if you're kind of doing things at volume at a certain point, Publish Drive actually becomes kind of the smarter move. So that's something that I think is super cool. It's a huge opportunity get your books in more people's hands to say to your readers like, hey, if you don't like KU, I'm now on Overdrive, which is a digital library service that a lot of individual libraries also subscribe to. And that you can publish to via Draft to Digital. I think there's a couple other ones that Draft to Digital and Publish Drive both send to as well, but definitely something for you to look into. Um, but the other really neat thing is, let me find the right screen share option here. So actually this is Book Report, And Book Report is a tool that will allow you to, hey, this is actually all-time numbers for what Book Reports track. We've only ever used Book Report for Amazon. I've heard mentioned that they're opening up to track other things. So this is all-time Amazon sales for us. And you can see that the numbers have gone down over the years, especially last year, because we basically kind of didn't do much of anything last year. But it's a super cool tool for like looking at your numbers, seeing how much money you've made from various books and stuff like that. Um, and it lets you do it all in one place, and you can customize the columns and everything. But a really neat thing that they've brought out now is this series page. And what the series page lets you do is lets you see your top series. You can do things like look at KU and other units, which is basically sales. And you can also include or exclude your free books. So it's a really cool way to sort of like not have to copy and paste a bunch of numbers, not have to manage things. They pull all the data on your series directly from your sales data from Amazon and just sort of assemble it all automatically, which is pretty cool. Oh, that's cool, Rebecca. Yeah, having something that tracks ad spend is pretty nice. Um, I've never actually plugged my wide sales into them, and also we do a lot of direct sales now, so that's not in here too. I think you can plug ACX into it as well. I've never, like I said, I've never actually expanded what we use it for, rather than just like the core Amazon stuff. Um, but the cool thing is it shows you like what your read through is for different series. So, for example, this one is like I've actually double checked the numbers and it is correct. I have 100% read through from book one to book two in this particular series, which is pretty wild. However, it had a free run. So if I turn on free units, actually see down here that it is, where did it go here? Orangey. Now it's a 54% read through. So it's actually kind of neat that you can toggle that information. You can be like, oh, so the free units actually probably did make a really big difference, because doing that free run has done so well with this particular series that it actually gave me, counting just paid books, actually 100% read through. And it was pretty cool to see that I get that good a read through in this particular series. It is also worth noting though that like I have some that are kind of wild. Okay, so actually let me step away from that. We're going to go down here. Actually, no, we won't. We're gonna be up here. So I have some series that have like really, really good book 1 to 2 read throughs, and that's even with free units in the mix. The Help by an Author one is weird. There's something messed up with the data there, because there's been multiple editions of some of those books. So we're gonna discount that. But this one actually does have 90% read through from book one to book two. And you're like, wow, well, that should be like one that you advertise a lot and focus on a bunch. Problem with this is that this is a deep series. You have to have read a prior series to really get the most out of this. So most of my readers that are reading this series already worked their way through a 7-book series. So this is really read through for book 8, 9, and 10 in a series in a way. Same thing for Percy's Gate Collection. This is a set of omnibuses, and also it's a bit of a deep cut as well. So that's not quite as good. But other ones like this one here, Jill's Sweet Falls romance series, actually does have a 76% read through from book one to book two. Like isn't like a fan service thing like some of mine are or anything like that. So it's pretty cool. And then other ones. But what has been really useful for me is I'm like looking at this and like, the Soul to Solution series, I've actually never ever once run an ad for that series, but it has for my series that would make an excellent starting point for people to get into my books. This is possibly one of the best I've ever had for read through. Now, it is worth considering as well that part of why it might have really good read through is because I've never run ads for it. Because when you run ads for books, you are casting a wider net, and you're likely to pull in some people who might be on the fence, try out your book, decide it's not for them, move on. So one has to consider that too. But this looks like a really good opportunity to me. All right, I'm gonna catch up on comments here for a second. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, that's cool. I've actually not looked at Publisher Champ, but and if they have data like what I'm about to show you, then that's super cool. Or what I'm showing you right now, that's super cool. And you can use this information to help you decide like where's your best series to do advertising, because this is the cumulative read through, by the way. So this is the number of people that started book one that made it to book 4 is 57%, which is super good. This is also currently counting free KU and sales. I could look at just KU, for example, and see, like, from a KU perspective, how does it do? And holy crap. Oh, wait, that's a different one. That's the one we were just looking at before. Where did the soul dissolution go to? Okay, so now it's down here, 75%. And I could look at just other units, which is sales, and then see, like, from a sales perspective, what's my best particular series, for what you're trying to do, what kind of elements you're trying to push. Um, or if maybe you want to take a series wide, which one has the best sales read through. So super cool to have that information there to see which one does best. But what's really neat is down here, this section here called earnings per reader. And again, discounting our help. I'm an author series, which is like help my Facebook ads suck and stuff like that. My number one series for making for earnings per reader is the Orion War series. I make $10.61 every single time I can get someone into that series. So even if I'm running an ad and I'm paying 50 cents a click, if I can get a reader every 10 clicks, I'm still doubling my money. So that's a fabulous series. I might look at this and be like, well, what are some of my series that don't do so well? And maybe it's like the Warlord down here. Well, the Warlord, only gets me $3.65 every time I get someone in. So probably not like an ideal series for me to promote. And even my omnibus, the Orion War Collection omnibus series here, which is an omnibus collection of all of these books, also does not have as good a read through, or perhaps it has as good a read through, but the dollar amount's lower because for the people buying the books, they're paying $9.99 versus what would effectively be $20 if they were buying all the individual titles. So this can really help me know where to focus my advertising energy for getting things that have the best read through. It is really interesting to note, I've almost never advertised Perilous Alliance. As a co-authored series I wrote with Jill, it has really good dollar return per reader, which is fabulous. Also, there's like a weird drop off on book 7, which suggests to me that maybe the back matter is wrong on book 6 and it's not properly pointing to book 7. Maybe book 6 just turns some people off, but there's something I need to look at on that particular one as well. Alex says, I don't care for the new book report series option. It shows book series that are archived and no longer on sale instead of books that are in circulation. I wonder if you could reach out to Liam to find out if there's a way to deal with that. We had a problem with our first load of data, and we reached out, and he identified an issue, was able to fix that. So maybe there'll be an option for you to deal with that. I know you can actually go in and you can, if you want to remove things from this report, there's actually sort of a tricky way of doing it. You can go in here to books and you can pick like an individual book. Let's just pick Galactic Frontier. Where is I think I've got the screen a little bit too small, but there's like an edit link. There it is. You can edit the books and change the page count. And if you make the page counts either 0 or -1, it removes those books from the series report. So that might be a workaround that you could use to yeet things out. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Jill mentions that the book 7 in that series was mostly fan service, and the major threads were all wrapped up, which is true. So, some food for thought. I think this is, and whether you're using Book Report for this or whether you're using, a host of other tools, author helper links or reader links, and what are they called? I don't know. You probably know what I'm talking about, but author helper tools, author reader links, they have this stuff built in as well. But man, this list of series with earnings per reader is like, it's such a clean and simple way of looking at the data that I really like this quite a bit. So I think it's, whether you're using this tool or another tool, that's something really worth thinking about. What are my series that get me the most earnings per reader? Should I be extending those series? Should I be advertising those series? Could I run a sale on those series? And even like just looking at those things like I was showing before, how with let me put KU units back in. So with Origins of Destiny having 100% read through on book 2, but if I add in the free units, suddenly it drops down to that drops down here with only 54% read through. Well, sure, that means like, I gave away a lot of books and didn't get read through, but it also means I got so many people reading book 2 off of this free one that effectively I've had as many people read book 2 as book 1 via giving book 2 away for free. And I have other series. I've never run free promos on book one. So I need to seriously be thinking about doing that. So definitely a cool thing to look at. This particular what they do with their pricing for book report is it's based on your sales data. I think if you're doing less than $5,000 a month, it's only $20 a month for book report. So definitely something you could take a look at. And I think one of the things that I want to pop back to and just kind of actually address for people that like saw these numbers. Actually, this is the today. Look at that, 6126. You're like, Mel, I thought you made more money than this. Well, historically we have, but remember, I didn't publish any books from 2021 to 2026 to end of 2025. And last year I killed almost all the ads for my books because we moved twice, changed countries, all sorts of things like that. But I say this because I want to be transparent. So when you look at this and you're like, wow, Mal, your graph is not what it used to be. Yeah, because I stopped writing books right around here. And it can be really demoralizing when number go down, right? Like you do really, really well, you write more books and you make less money. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? This is demoralizing. And it makes you not want to write. I've absolutely been through that. I know other people have been through that too. So I want to show that, like, hey, you can actually go through a decline like this in your career, and then you can start to bring your career back. And you can see by the end of this little graph down here that I actually have been able to bring my career back by starting to publish again. So it's not like it goes down and can never come back up. You can bring it back up. And this isn't like the total amount of money we've made, because as of like 2020, we really started to diversify where our books are being sold. There's wide books, audio went wide. We make money off of YouTube now with audio, direct sales, all sorts of things like that. So this also went down because it became a bit of a less of a total picture. Back in 2018, all the money was happening in Amazon, and now it's spread out a bit. But I thought it'd be, I showed this before, so I thought I should explain a little bit that, yeah, and it's true. I make less money than I did in 2018. What we do collectively, because we're not publishing as much, we're not working as hard, we're not hustling as hard. But we in 2025 we did dip below being six-figure authors for the first time since 2016, and that was like, in a way, a bit of a wake-up call to me that, like, hey, if I want to keep doing this full time, I actually have to do it. And I decided, like, I do want to be an author. Like, that's like a really important thing to me, to be an author. So that's part of why I got my butt in gear and got some books done, and did a 140,000 word book, got that out last year, and then did a short story collection at Christmas. It's actually also done pretty well. And then this coming year, I'm going to be doing at least 4 books and 2 or 3 Kickstarters. So it is hard. It's demoralizing when the number goes down. It can be really stressful. There can be a lot of worry and panic. And everybody's situation is different. So I'm not trying to tell you that, like, oh, just buck up, you'll get over it. But that, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a way to turn things around. And actually, what else is really telling about this graph? This graph starts in February of 2012, and you'll notice what it looks like until 2016, when we actually started doing a lot of sales. And then we had that big push where things did really, really well in November of 2016. And then we dropped from 25,000 to $13,000 4 months later. And I was like, oh Lord, what have I done? Because I had quit my full-time job by then, and managed to get things going again. But it is a cyclical business. Things go up and down. So just sort of like some encouragement and sharing, and also, advice that it is good for us to diversify and to separate our money and not have all of our eggs in one basket. So do think about that option you have now. If you're in KU, that you can actually get your books up on your ebooks up on digital libraries using Publish Drive or Draft to Digital, and maybe Kobo. I can't remember if Kobo can still publish direct to Overdrive if they took that away. So don't quote me on Kobo. But Amazon does list in their terms and service the specific distributors you can use to get your books into digital libraries. So do think about that. There's I'm just looking at Jill's last comment, and I'm not sure what she means. It did show me successful some brands where they just dropped because I didn't think they were doing well. Oh, of our brands, of course, yeah. Yeah, right. Like I was looking at this thinking to myself, like, wow, I didn't think that series did really well. And now that this new number, just looking at earnings per reader, I was like, oh, gee, that one did better than I actually ever thought it did. Um, and it was funny too, because one of my series, let me bring this one back up. Actually, it's the one I was talking about, Origins of Destiny um, series, which is, if we count the free books, is right here. Um, and if we look at earnings per reader, where's Origins of Destiny? Right down there. So it's not great on earnings per reader. Part of that is because book one has spent almost all of its life at 99 cents. And it's only 4 books long. So it's obviously set back by some of those other ones. But I'm like, man, I have an opportunity to lengthen this series. It has amazing read through, which means I get really good bang for my buck when I lengthen the series. And obviously, yeah, some of these series like the Orion War collection at 13 books, or sorry, the Orion War series at 13 books, of course, is going to beat it. But man, 13 books and it's 890, 4 books and it's 331. This series has good enough read through that if I lengthened it to 8 books, it might compete with this 13 book series. I only have to write 8 books, not 13 to do it. So it showed an opportunity. And it also showed here that like the Perilous Alliance series has super strong read through, and at 7 books is not that far off from some of the winners that do even better, but while being much longer series. So it's really given us some food for thought on which series we should possibly be focusing on or expanding, and maybe which ones were like, cool, that's nice, you can now live in the backlist, and that will be neat. Um, and that's okay. I'm curious how well Warlord does. Warlord does really well in read through as well. And it's only a 3 book series. And I've been thinking about extending this one. So that might be a really good candidate. I'm actually surprised how good the read through is, given that at the end of book 2, I kill off the main character's love interest. I didn't expect the read through to book 3 to be as good as it is. So, some cool things. Oh, good morning, Kate. How are you doing today? So the other thing, so what I talked about libraries, which you probably all knew about. Talked about this new tool, but also really the mindset around like looking at this data and saying like, where do I get the best read through? Because those are your opportunities for expansion of the series. And where do I get the best earnings per reader? Because those are your top opportunities for running ads. And then also, looking at how well your free books have boosted your overall performance. Like that one series, so the free books made it so that my read through effectively from book 1 to book 2 is 100%, which is amazing. 100% if I don't count the free books, right? If I count the free books that I gave away, then it's 54%. But I'm like, wow, that means I sold, you know, twice as many book 2s as I would have, give or take a little bit, as I would have while ever doing those free runs. I should I should be doing more of that. I've got other series I've never run free runs on. So I think it's pretty interesting information to be looking at. The other thing that happened, um, that you might have heard some inklings of, both inside and outside the author world, is this new thing where Amazon is actually showing off Amazon products. And I'm curious. Well, I don't know. I don't have any on this one, obviously. And some of the people that I do have the data for, I don't want to show the information because I got it in confidence. But what they're doing is, down in this area of the page where product related item live and stuff like that, they're doing a thing now where they're showing where to buy the book elsewhere from Amazon. So if you're on Shopify or something like that, currently it's a small pilot and it's opt in. But the interesting thing, and I'm still kind of, I think it's being tested a couple of different ways. One of the ways it actually happens is you buy the book right on Amazon, and then Amazon processes the payment through the third party, be it Shopify or something like that. So the customer's experience never leaves Amazon. And some people think that this is amazing, and some people are terrified by it. And I feel both ways. Um, like, because that means like you put a bunch of like special editions up on Shopify where you can sell like your fancy cover sprayed edges omnibus collections for $150 or something crazy like that, or even like a 7 book paperback collection for 80 bucks or who knows. And that can be listed on Amazon. That's awesome. But the downside is that Amazon is doing this to try to solidify themselves as the place where people buy things, and to make it so that, like, basically what and Amazon is taking a chunk of this, I bet, or if they aren't now, they will be soon. Amazon basically said to themselves, how do we get a piece of the pie for all e-commerce transactions, whether they happen on Amazon or not, right? Like, that's what they're trying to do. And that part bothers me. I like the exposure. I like the fact that currently it's free exposure. I'm sure eventually that you'd have to pay for it. Um, but I also am like, do I really like the idea that Amazon is trying to involve themselves in every piece of e-commerce they can, even if it doesn't happen on Amazon? So that part I'm not super keen on. But I thought I'd put that out there so you guys can sort of, like, if you hear people talking about it, um, you'll know that, yeah, this is a thing that they're starting to, like, link to books that are off Amazon, um, and other products too. It's not just books; it's happening across the board. So, something to think about. All right, there's some comments here. Let me filter back through the comments. Peter Foot likes the new series tab. So do I. Free books is a lead magnet that you give out website, or do you mean a perma-free on the Zon? So for me, whenever I do, the free books I've been talking about have always been short-term free runs, most of the time, short-term free runs through countdown deals. I have had a couple of books that have been perma-free for a while. I've done that off and on. I don't do perma-free that much anymore because it really seems to not work that well in the long run. It's works great for boost for sales and for promos and stuff like that, but perma-free in the long run doesn't really seem to work. But we also do, Jill and I both have reader magnets that we do run ads to. And those reader magnets live like on BookFunnel, like Jill said. Because if I'm going to give you a free book, I want something like your email address. And those are great for priming your the algorithm too for Facebook ads, because if you can have a conversion event, like a lead that happens on BookFunnel and then sends data back to Amazon about it, then that's really good data for Facebook to know, like, oh, these are like engaged customers for this particular ad account. And if I find more people like them, they're more likely to convert than if I were just to cast the net out and go from scratch. So they're really good as well. We talk about that a bunch in school. Let me go to school. This is our platform where we have all of our courses and everything under the sun. We have one called Magnetize Your Readers, and there's a whole bunch of videos in here about, like, how to set up, what you should be doing in a reader magnet, what kinds of ones convert best, how to set up the ads for reader magnets, how to do everything in BookFunnel, how to get the tracking set up between Facebook and BookFunnel. All that jazz is all in there. So you can soak it up that way as well. Yeah, perma-free used to convert at like 6% to book2, and now it converts at like 2% if you do a perma-free. If you're doing sales, you can oftentimes do better because it's like you can grab more excited readers. It's like they know it's an event and it's short term and they're getting something of value for free. Whereas perma-free is devalued because it's always free. You know what I mean? Tim Gallup says, I have a really promising launch my reader magnet, considering it's my very first book. BookFunnel for the win. That's awesome, Tim. Congrats. Well done. Yeah, this is a thing you can actually get. I don't know if you'll meant 24 hours, but okay. Jill just said she showed her ad. Is it? Oh, here it is. If I can't actually copy that text, so I'm not going to click on. I'm not going to try and type that out in a hurry. No, yeah. Well, it just, if I try to click on it, it just tells me that to show it. Otherwise, it would show everybody. But you guys can click on this comment from Jill if you want to look at her current reader magnet ad, see how it's doing. But yeah, getting 100 subscribers a day to your mailing list is like not unheard of with good reader magnet ads, and we're talking at pretty low spends too. Like, I've got one client, we get a new sign up to her reader magnet for every 10 cents we spend. So that's she spends $5 a day. So 10 times 5, 50. So she's literally getting, for $5 a day, 50 new people on her newsletter every single day. And even if half of them subscribe, every week she's growing her newsletter by 150 to 200 people. And she doesn't have half of them subscribe, by the way. She keeps about 80% of these people on her newsletter. So, over the course of a year, you can dramatically grow your newsletter. And having a newsletter that's up around 10,000 people means if you launch a book and just hit your newsletter and you've got like, a newsletter that's warm and you're like engaging with them, making like 4 or 5, even 8 to $10,000 just off your newsletter is not unheard of. I used to, back in the heyday when I was publishing a lot, I would make 8 grand just on the day I sent out my newsletter notification about new books. So it can be super powerful. Where are we here now? Oh, thank you very much, Tim. Appreciate this. He was talking about our school platform. All right, man, I thought I was caught up. You guys are just cruising here. Eric says, one thing I've been having some success with is being unhinged on Threads. I've been considering that, actually, being unhinged on Threads. Especially from more niche cosmic horror things that sell better. Do you do like first person? So let me put this comment up for everybody. Do you do like first person stories where it looks like you're saying this about yourself and it sort of becomes evident through the post, the thread, that it's obviously a fiction story? Because I find those ones to be really engaging and I like those quite a bit. So I'm kind of curious if you're doing that. All right, see you, Jenna. Pesky day job. Jill's paying $20 a day right now. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Jill's running a Kickstarter right now that just launched on Monday. It's up over $7,000, I think now. I could be wrong. 7.4 US. So that's pretty good. I always get confused because sometimes, depending on where we look on what thing, we might see US or Canadian price or value on the Kickstarter, but super awesome. Especially considering that Jill's pen name is not something that she's done a lot with in the last few years. This particular pen name, that is. So we're like really stoked, and that's part of what's got me extra jazzed to do more Kickstarters this year. So Tim says, one thing I'm worried about when running Facebook Avid Reader Magnet is how bad is the freebie seeker problem? So part of you're going to have some. You're always going to have some of those people that unsub like right away. One of the things I do to help with that is I never mention the book is free in the ad, because I want like people are looking for paid books and then sort of get a bonus if they show up. So I kind of help. I mean, it's not perfect. Obviously, freebie seekers are still going to click, even if it doesn't say free. It's going to happen. But I do that. So I'm not sure if you mention it's free or not, but that's one of the ways I help. But if you're getting more than like, I would say that 50% unsubscribes is not great. And you need to consider that in your cost to acquire the email address. Like basically, if you're paying less than 60 cents per email address, that's pretty good. And so let's say you're paying 20 cents per subscription on Facebook. That's what Facebook tells you it costs you to get for each person you get signed up. Half of them leave, you're still only paying 40 cents per one for the ones that remain. So that's actually not too bad. If you're paying 60 and half of them leave, well, now that means you're paying $1.20 for the ones that stay. That is too high. So you might need to like retool to see if you can do that. Yeah, we use Facebook ads for Reader Magnet books that we put up on BookFunnel. That's something I recommend doing quite a bit. All right, you guys, comments are rolling today. Dun, dun, dun. Kate says, I want to ask, I know the other day when I was looking at something in my ad set for now that my pixel had set for BookFunnel was turned on in the ad set. Was it like a traffic ad? And like maybe you were at the ad on the ad tab and you saw that the pixel was turned on, like a little green light. What that probably means, it depends on the kind of ad you're looking at. It's just that Facebook is saying like, hey, this is a pixel that's receiving data. If it had a little green dot beside it, all that means is that this pixel is active and receiving data, not necessarily from that ad. It's just showing that it's a good pixel to use. Because if you have like maybe 3 or 4 pixels and you're like, crap, I can't remember which pixel to use, and 4 of them have a red dot, one of them has a green dot, then you know, like, oh yeah, it's the one that has data coming into it is a pixel to use. So probably that's what you're looking at. Second person would be pretty weird, by the way, to do that. Like on threads or in the books themselves. I'm curious what you're thinking there. Main OEI archives jump between third person, present tense, and journal entries. And the folks who poke those up can't put them down. Oh, that's really cool. That's good to hear. I like that. And Tim says, I don't really run a drip campaign for the new subs, just a monthly newsletter so far. I'd rather have fewer engaged readers than a large list with inert readers. And that's true. And the larger your list gets, the more inert readers, I like that kind of term, you're going to have, but the more engaged readers you'll have too, right? Like, like if I had a 10,000 person list with 30% engagement, that's still 3,300 people. And if I had a 100 person list with 100% engagement, that's 100 people. So yes, sometimes it feels good to have really good percentages for engagement and clicks and stuff like that, but you can't beat volume in this sort of situation. You know, if you can have a 30, I know people have like a 50,000 person list and a 15% engagement, like on most of their emails. It's still 15,000 people that are opening their emails. It's a massive number. Now, provided you have a good price on your mailing list, it's going to be okay. At a certain point, you might be like, "Wow, it's costing me a fortune to have all these people that don't do anything," and that's a different decision point to make. But you know, this is one of those scenarios where, aside from the provider you have maybe having really bad tiers, where you actually can make it up in volume. So when you say, so you said it was a traffic ad? Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. If you're unsure, Kate, send me a screenshot. Just message me on Facebook Messenger, just so I can just double check that that was an okay situation. Um, and Jill says you definitely want a drip campaign. I agree. Yeah, you absolutely want drip campaigns. You always want to be pulling new people into your email list, and doing it just from back of book is really slow. And I always say, like, there's two ways to do anything in this business: spend money or spend time. So so it does depend, like, on how much time versus money you have at any point. If you don't have a lot of money but you got lots of time, then you can beat the streets to do things. But if you're like starting to ramp up your business and you don't have the time to be manually doing a lot of these things, then then you have to start spending money for it. Um, so tons of things consider. Um, is it in there, honey? So Jill says there's a video um, on drips. I don't know if we have drips set up in that one. Oh, she did. Look at that. Cool. Jill is, oh, they're under resources. I'm sorry. Let me show you guys right here. Okay. So in our paid school, it's underneath resources. So if you go to classrooms, go to magnetize your readers, reader funnel templates. Look at that. Jill has all of these templates that she's made to help you with getting drip campaigns and everything set up. And it's also in our free school. If you want to just check it out for free, that's called Easy Facebook Ads for Authors. And I'm not sure where it is in here. Maybe under resources. Oop. Bonus. Oh, was I in the right place? Classrooms. Sorry, Jill's directing me from another room. Oh, I wasn't looking at the pictures. I was looking at the text. I missed the word bonus. So under resources here. So if you want these templates for free, you're not in our paid school, you can go to school, SKOOL.com, look for Easy Facebook Ads for Authors. And then there, once you're signed in, you can go to Classroom. Down here, got this bonus section, and they're in here under resources. So easy way for you guys to get that. We have so much stuff sometimes I forget what we've put where. So apologies for that. You're very welcome, Tim. So I almost removed myself instead of the screen share. I came like this close to clicking the exact wrong thing. Now I just become a disembodied voice talking. Be amazing. Actually, I think it would get rid of my audio too. By the way, hopefully my audio sounds better. I've got a new microphone and I don't have it quite tuned yet perfectly, but I think it picks up way less room noise. It should give like my voice like a warm, buttery sound. So I'm becoming a microphone audio nerd, whether I like it or not, and I'm pretty stoked about this. So my goodness, it's 40 past already. Did anybody have any other questions about anything they got going on? If you're keen on new opportunities this year, I really do think that Kickstarter is going to become bigger and bigger for authors, and it's already big for authors. This is the year where I am hearing more and more people talking about how um, paid books are overtaking KU in their sales reports. January is always a little bit off. January usually shifts back to KU a bit because people are like, "Oh my goodness, I have no money because Christmas." But for a lot of people, the last quarter of 2025, sales outstripped KU reads as far as the revenue is concerned. And for a lot of people, they're starting to see, I know some authors are seeing 40% print sales for their books. So people are really actually kind of moving back into this I want to own physical things realm, and I want to own pretty physical things realm. So definitely something to consider, I think, as we go into 2026. And that's why I think that Kickstarters are going to be really big, because rather than having to like set up a store and manage like this idea of ongoing sales and always having inventory and dealing with shipping all the time, you run a Kickstarter, one and done. You get the book, you mail them all out. You get it. You get to tell, like, do I like doing this? Do I like shipping things? Do I like having to deal with physical sales and stuff like that? And if the answer is no, then that will inform your decisions going forward before you invest a massive amount of effort into like creating a permanent store. So I think it's one of the best things about Kickstarters. They're also so much fun for releases because they have a beginning, middle, and an end. Normally, book releases, we do this big push at the beginning and they kind of just fizzle out. And with a Kickstarter, you get to like have this final hurrah at the end and get people excited and maybe have like an extra stretch goal for something cool that they get. And it makes the release a lot of fun. And then it has an end date. And you just sort of can like, now I can move on. And I don't have to have this thing lingering in my back of my mind. Like, oh, I should have done something else for this release. Well, you can't because the Kickstarter is over. And you move on. So some thoughts there. Rebecca says or asks, do you know if Amazon had some issues with reporting lately? I've had at least 2 days where my steady reads went down to almost nothing, and it seemed suspicious. I did notice actually that the last couple of days, looking at the book report data, was lower than I thought it should be. It trended down really hard. So I wouldn't be surprised. And Amazon, it is odd for Amazon to have mid-month data processing problems. Usually data processing delays happen at the end of the month when they're processing all sorts of other stuff. And sometimes the data processing falls behind a little bit. But yeah, I tend to like sort of think to myself, like, okay, 2 days could just be reporting glitch. I don't usually stress out about it, especially if they go down to almost nothing. That does seem suspicious. Now, if you're running paid advertising, it could be that the paid advertising flaked out and is showing your, so they changed audiences, showing your ad to the wrong people. And that's what caused your reads to go down. So there's a couple different ways that can pan out. Oh, but Jill has actual data. They were having problems for the 13th and the 14th. We'll look at that. Ironically, 13th for us was like a really good day, but maybe it should have been even better. It says it's not worth starting to look at Kickstarter until I actually have a few books out for sale, right? I need Amazon first to just build my name and series recognition. Absolutely not. 100% no. You can go that route or use Amazon to build up the fan base ahead of time. But there's guys like Russell Nolte. His books are only available on Kickstarter. He never, I think he does a direct sales store now too, but he doesn't put them on Amazon at all. He launched his career on Kickstarter and there it has remained. I know a couple of authors who did their very first book on Kickstarter, brand new author, no following, no nothing, made $4,000, you know, from doing a book on Kickstarter. So it's absolutely, and that one was like Middle Eastern fantasy romance, one of them. Like, so it's not like a major genre. It's fantasy romance, yes, but it was Middle Eastern in setup and everything. And like Jill's Kickstarter, day 3, over $7,000, is in a genre that Jill has never written in before. So it's a pen name that's been around for a while, but hasn't had any new releases in some time, and is not a pen name she ever used for this genre before. Because Jill cannot be pinned down into one genre, and she cannot be bothered to run 1,000 pen names. So it's sort of anything can happen under any pen name. Well, not any pen name, but it kind of feels it can be, there can be a variety of things happening. So yeah, the fact that she was able to do that, I think also helps break this idea that you need to build an audience somewhere else first and then do Kickstarter. You absolutely don't. Now, you're going to have to do a lot more legwork if you don't have a built-in audience. You have to, like, you know, kind of figure things out, have a strategy, figure out ways to engage readers and pull them in and all that sort of thing. Whereas if you're like larger, like I've had Kickstarters where I did basically like nothing other than just hit my newsletter and did like $20,000. Um, okay, maybe that was only $15,000 now that I think about it. But you can, so if you do all the work and build this big audience and everything first, sure, you can run a Kickstarter on autopilot, but you don't have to do it that way. You can actually use the Kickstarter as the thing to build your brand. So lots of options there. Chantel, I posted my Kickstarter pre-launch yesterday. Chantel, what? That's amazing. Already 108 followers. What? Way to go. I'm stoked that you like got that rocking. Yes, we need the link. Got to send it. Bring it on. All right. Fully expect my book to be swallowed by Amazon by the thousand of Reacher books in my genre, but I think techno thriller angle will help it get seen. Yeah. And like, there are some really big techno thriller indie authors on Amazon. You should hit them up for swaps. Worst thing they can do is say no. I've had a lot of like brand new authors hit me up for swaps. I looked at their book, liked it, and did a newsletter swap with them and gave them a good boost. Kate says, do you have a how to do Kickstarter course? I think, if not, maybe think about it for purely selfish reasons on my part. Jill is going to be putting one together based off of our past ones we've run and the current experience she's having. Because to be honest, she is running right now the best Kickstarter we've ever run. So you actually might want to just follow it. It's called Dungeons and Donuts. She did multiple short stories that people got along the way, even before the Kickstarter launched. Like if you followed her Kickstarter, you would actually get access to these short stories. She used Facebook ads going to these short stories to build up awareness and whatnot of this Kickstarter. And she's got she's making a really immersive experience, which I think is super awesome. So I think even just following her Kickstarter and seeing some of the things she's doing, you might pick some stuff up that way, but she is also doing a course. Dun, dun, dun. I'm just like looking, Jill just demanding links from Chantel. Yes, this is Jill's. If you go to cozycottage.ca, sorry, cottagecozy.ca, you'll find it there. And you can get in on it. She did coloring pages, mini quests, books, sound score on YouTube, free short stories, and a Christmas novella. So all sorts of things. She actually put together this really cool idea for how I'm going to do my next one for my sci-fi one. And everything's going to be about missions. And the whole thing's going to be done. The Kickstarter is going to be run as if you, the person landing on the Kickstarter page, gained illicit access to, or gained accidental access to an illicit cargo manifest. And if you can do certain things, you're going to be able to get your hands on this cargo manifest that you can't get any other way. And of course, the cargo manifest being access to the contents of the Kickstarter. So it's all going to be based around that, about even like having like missions and side quests you can do to get access to things. And one of them will be like special products and bundles that you'll only get if you're on the newsletter for the Kickstarter. So to sort of build things up that way. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to actually do more than just like a regular Kickstarter, to like make sort of an immersive event. Oh, that's really cool. 5 days Jill's Kickstarter to be hacked by one of the side characters and the content's going to change, plus new tiers. I didn't know you were doing that. That's super fun. She just cackled from the other room. She's excited about this. It was a very nice cackle, though. It was not a bad cackle. So yeah, it's like I said, it's a great way to be able to do this sort of thing. Jill's Kickstarter is 3 weeks, and then you're done. You don't have to build out stores and all sorts of things like that. Of course, you can also do that. Like something I've decided I'm doing right now is I've been thinking about like, I'm going to bend the rules a little bit with Amazon. I haven't decided for sure if I'm doing this, but I'm kind of like reading through the terms of service and stuff like that. And I'm like, they allow you to do stores, or sorry, they allow you to do libraries, and sure, they list specific retailers, but what if I just sort of plead ignorance on that part and turn my own website into a library of all of my books that people can just pay a fee to and then access them directly? So I've kind of actually sub rosa done that for quite a while through Patreon and stuff like that, where people could just pay a certain tier and just get a bunch of my ebooks. So I'm like, maybe I could just create my own subscription thing on my own website, try it out, get it all working while still in KU, and then maybe eventually just transition off KU entirely. So that's something I'm working on right now, because I've been getting more and more readers asking me how to buy my books direct, that they don't actually want to pay some retailer part of the pie for my books. They want to get them direct. And I've oftentimes just sort of done like, I put up like a package for them on my website where they just pay me some money and I just email them the EPUBs or something like that. But I'm thinking, like, man, there's enough of these people now doing this. So I kind of really want to formalize all of my ebooks this way. And I have been selling certain subsets on my website publicly as well. But there's been some people just like, I don't want to buy anything from Amazon. So some stuff to think about. Yeah, it's a big thing. Like I said, Russell Nolte does all of his releases this way. And I know quite a few authors who do. I've actually never done it for a new release myself. I did it for a new release of Help My Facebook's Ads Suck third edition, but I've never done it for a new fiction release because it's a whole different situation doing it for fiction. Mine's always been for audiobook editions and anniversary editions and stuff like that. So I'm pretty stoked to be able to, at some point soon, do it for new releases for me too. My next 2 Kickstarters are actually also not new releases, but there is one happening this year for sure that will be for a new release. So that'll be fun. All right, Tim says, if you buy me a coffee on my page, I may look at a cheap pay processor like PayHip. Though some of my coworkers want to read my book, but hates ebooks, so I sent her. But I had to figure out how to pay. Yeah, that might be a way to do it, using PayHip or something like that for sure. I don't recommend going with something like Shopify until you're really ready for something like that, because Shopify, they charge $30 a month. So you have to be doing some amount of volume already to make that worth it. Otherwise, it just becomes another expense, sort of, piling up on your author career. You also can just do PayPal links. Like I'm sure PayPal has pay links now, but PayHip's also an option too. So totally lots of ways to handle that. Yeah, Eric says that he could do audio stuff as a stretch goal, and that's something I've done before too. And I think it's actually a really great idea. Yeah, that's a good idea, Tim. Yeah, avoid anything with subscription until you start earning steady money. I agree. Otherwise, you end up just with like these costs that keep piling up, while you're still just trying to get your business on its feet. All right, everybody. I think I'm going to wrap it here. I'm running out of speaking juice. It's like takes a lot to talk for an hour straight. And I already talk a lot off camera too. So, my poor voice starts to go after a while, but it has been super swell chatting with you all. Next week, there's like a 50% chance I might be in a new place because Jill and I are getting our new office set up. And tomorrow the movers are moving all of the stuff to our office, because we used to have a much larger house and we had much more room to do things, but our smaller house doesn't. And we can get an office space here for pretty cheap. So we're gonna actually have like different like recording studios and stuff like that set up, which we're really excited about. And we have like our garage is full of like tables and couches and all sorts of things that don't fit in our house. So lots going on. But anyway, I will see you guys later. I hope you have a fabulous day and a great weekend. Ciao.